I know, it was perfect. Is that, so that's in the shot? Oh, cool. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Father James. I have my Our Lady of Guadalupe coffee mug yet again because I'm here to give you an update about the question of buildings here at Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish. I'm going to need some caffeine for that one. One of the things I remember in the first couple of months here, 2.5 years ago, and it was the gospel reading was the harvest is plentiful, laborers are few, and I think I made a joke about how in our parish the buildings are plentiful and parishioners are few because it was during the pandemic. We had restrictions, and that was the experience. Like hardly anyone in church, and 50 people at a mass and 14 buildings. And it's been a struggle. We knew we had to go through this. We had to wrestle our infrastructure to the ground. We started a series of meetings, conversations, consultations. We did the whole New Foundation series. We came up with a basic series of options, 4 options. Well, 5 options, because one of the options was to continue to do what we had been doing. That was do nothing or change nothing, ignore the issue. And remember we had the options committee, and they analyzed it and researched all the options and chose what was called option 4, which was to keep a location in North Dartmouth, St. Anthony's, and to renew this location at the St. Peter's site. And from there we requested to the bishop and to move ahead, and we put together this huge report, this big volume like this. We did the engineering study of this place to find out if the bones in this place were solid, to find out if the basic concept was even possible. It turned out it was. We put all that stuff to the bishop. The bishop gave us permission to go to the next level, which involved a series of consultations. And about a year later, we eventually got to the place of canonically closing both Immaculate Conception and St. Paul. So I'm here today to give you a little update because today we still have these buildings and we're still required, get this, for insurance purposes, we're still required every 72 hours for 2 staff members to walk through all the buildings that we have that are insured. And it's actually a huge amount of time and energy to walk through these empty buildings. The Immaculate Conception site has been winterized. St. Paul's site is being rented right now. So we're trying to minimize the net cost of still having these buildings, but still we've got tax payments and all of this. And so there is a cost to all of that. We, before Christmas, had Immaculate Conception up for sale. There were a number of bids. We're working with a real estate company through the approval of the Archdiocese, because there were different stages of getting approval from the bishop about the bracket of the sale price. And we had a bid at the Immaculate Conception site, which we accepted on condition, and the bid amount was for 1.575 million. And there are 2 conditions to the sale. One is around an environmental study, and there's another historical condition that we're working on. But we have until February 15th to get that resolved. So that sale may go through. Hopefully it'll go through by then. The other hand, we just received permission last week, 2 weeks ago, to move ahead with the sale of St. Paul's location. And we have we've got a minimal amount that we're required to aim for from the Archdiocese, that if the bid comes in below that, we have to go back and get permission again. But we've been working with the real estate company, and we have an amount that's going to be the amount that we're asking for. With Immaculate Conception, we did a request for proposal, it was kind of like an open bid with a variation of prices, and people in different organizations or companies or whoever real estate people could make a bid. For St. Paul's location, we have a set amount, and we're going to put out a request based on that amount, kind of like what you would do if you were selling a private home. Best case scenario, the Immaculate Conception property, the sale goes through, and in the next month or so, by maybe the end of March, we accept a bid on the St. Paul's property. And normally there's a couple of months that need to go by again to do environmental studies and all of this before everything is signed, sealed, and delivered. The hope would be that by September this year, that both locations will be out of our hands. We won't have to be doing walkthroughs every 72 hours, and the costs associated with insurance and tax and heat and utility, which we continue to carry, will be freed from those as well. Because remember that we still have the St. Anthony's location, the glebe and the hall and the church. Just for example, when we set the budget this past year, the estimated operational cost for the church building and the hall, if I recall, is about $120,000. Yeah, that's without major repairs. That's just heat, insurance, utilities, taxes, and I mean it's an extraordinary expense. And so the question of the North Dartmouth location, St. Anthony's, is a separate one, because I'm going to give you an update about that soon. But our hope there is to develop a series of partnerships so that we can actually operate that space in service of the poor and the mission of the church in a sustainable way. So there's an oversight. We have at the St. Peter's location, obviously we've got this very big, vast space that we have to heat and take care of. We've got the office, the attached residence that has a residence of priests, and then we have the parish center up on the hill. Behind the parish center, there's a 3-bedroom apartment that is separate that we operate. And then we've got Churchill Academy, which is our building, and then next to it is the old school building, which is reverted back to our care and responsibility. We have to do every 72 hours, a walkthrough of that building as well. That building has been winterized. We're not heating it, thanks be to God. We'd be bankrupt if we did. So that's where we are. It's still, a bit of it is a bit frustrating that we're still not free of these buildings. Here we are 2.5 years later. The irony is that in some quarters it was said that we were moving too quickly. We did this too quickly. Wow, 2.5 years and we're still having the full weight of these buildings. So if that's moving too quickly, I'd hate to see what moving too slowly would look like. So I'm anxious to get on with it. Because we're putting time, money, and resources into a remnant of the past. And I know that these buildings had deep significance for many people. But I think the parish has done a good job, caring for people, moving people through this, going through a grieving process. But these buildings are closed now. It's time to move. It's time to move on. So hopefully, over the next month, I'll be able to give you news that we have moved on definitively. Finally, this is, I think, the beginning of a different season. As we begin 2023, we are, in a very real way, beginning to turn from dealing with the past and what we received and trying to move the issue of buildings and infrastructure in a responsible way, in a respectful way, that we've been focusing on that the last 2.5 years, and now we are making a turn towards the future to be able to use our resources, everything that God has given us, including our infrastructure, for the sake of the mission that God is calling us to fulfill today, here and now, at the parish of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Thank you, and God bless. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.